Hi, and welcome to our presentation for Open Education Global. We are RLOE, the Regional Leaders of Open Education Network, which is a project under the CCC OER, which of course is a division of OE Global. And we're going to talk about how open education networks and emerging leadership are vital to the sustainability of OER. And we're really excited with our RLOE network and the leadership advisory team that we have running this project. That includes Rebecca Vasquez Ortiz. Sorry, Rebecca, I just mispronounced your name. And Carlos Gollier, who are both here with me today. And there's also Esperanza Zenon and Deidre Tyler and Kim Gruey, who are not here today, but are important other members of our leadership advisory team. And so we're excited that we have a lot of folks that are engaged in building the leadership network. And together with our team, we have a group of wonderful collaborators. Many of you will recognize the names on this list: Suzanne Joachim, Quill West, Wade Oshiro, Mari Sakayama, Alexis Clifton, Matthew Bloom, Alegria Ribadenera, Aruj Nizami, and Christina Trunnell. And so all of these folks are going to contribute and be part of helping folks within our network that are participating in the program in terms of the plans that they're going to be building. And I'm going to let Rebecca take it away with a little bit more about RLOE and what we're doing.
Well, thank you for this opportunity to speak. And I wanted to mention briefly that RLOE is working on building this network across Northern America to implement strategic plans that help to support, facilitate, and develop open education practices in higher education. And before I speak to the next slide, I wanted to let you all know that we have received generous funding from the ECM Foundation. And ECM is a Los Angeles-based foundation that actually works nationally in helping to develop practices in higher education for marginalized communities. Next, I wanted to briefly mention that RLOE started in what we call stage 1, where the 4 cornerstones were developed and implemented as related back to the philosophy of the organization. And those 4 cornerstones center around sustainability, policy and strategic development, stewardship, and professionalism. And stage 1 really set the motion over the work that RLOE does by leading us to what we would kind of say stage 2, or where we are now, which is the idea of implementation or strategic plan development. So now, as we use the basis of stage 1 to inform the practices that we're implementing across North America, we're looking at the idea of investing in educational leadership that helps to build and strengthen our efforts around promoting anti-racism. This centers on specific values that again come out of the original 4 cornerstones. And these values include access, student agency, the development of collaboration and community building, centering ourselves around stewardship in terms of care, generosity, and generativity, and then, of course, an emphasis on social justice, diversity, equity, and inclusion. Now I'll go ahead and pass the microphone to Carlos so he can speak to you about some of our exciting work.
Thank you. And I'm also excited to be able to speak here and emphasize that RLOE prioritizes HBCUs, Hispanic serving institutions, tribal colleges, and lesser funded institutions in our participant recruitment. So who are our underserved students? Our BIPOC students, students with diverse abilities or disabilities, neurodiverse students, food and housing insecure students, remote rural students, foster care students, students impacted by incarceration, LGBTQIA students, especially in rural areas, students that are parents, first-generation college students, And this is a dynamic list. And we have this list because we want to emphasize that the work of RLOE is to really empower these underserved students through open education. So to do so, we are developing a leadership program, and this is a screenshot of our web presence, our hub site that is under construction. It will have resources for learning. It will have ways to contact people that are part of this network, and importantly, it will be openly licensed so that others can benefit from these resources. Program outcomes. We have leadership development, and here is where participants learn about OER, open educational resources, and open educational practices, and how these can help students be more successful. Our goal is for participants to develop strategic plans for OER and OEP that align with their existing institutional goals and really meet the needs of the underserved students we talked about before. We have ongoing support from an open education and DEI leaders that will assist our partners and participants with long-term implementation of these strategic plans. And we want to connect to a larger network of open ed and DEI leadership peers to promote the sustainability of these efforts, both at our participant institutions and as a whole network.
So, yeah.
I want to pass it on to Karen.
Thanks, Carlos. Yeah, so we know this is a pre-recorded session for OE Global Connect for the conference. And so what we really want to do is engage people in this OEG Connect discussion space where you're watching this video. And so you can easily just type your responses below this video. And on the next slide, we're going to give you some prompting questions that you can think about that helps us think about leadership and helps us think about sustainability. And so a lot of this has to do with the fact that if we're thinking about sustainability, we know that it's really important to keep the next generation of leaders going. And so when we say, how do we build leadership? How do we think about social justice in the context of thinking about open education and where it needs to be going? And so we can start with a question about how can open education be a key lever in the justice that we're trying to seek in higher education? And who has agency within our organizations and is empowered to make change? And we could even say, who should have agency within our organizations? How do we help people find their agency? The third question is about how do we nurture a diverse range of leaders in all the ways that we think about that word diversity? How can we nurture a diverse range of leaders that can help drive agendas for open ed and that focus on underserved students? These are all really important questions that we're grappling with. How do we empower future leaders, help them grow to take the next steps towards equity and justice confidently? What does it mean to empower future leaders? How do we make sure our organizations center our historically underrepresented and underestimated communities in open education? Because we talk a lot about that within open education, and we have to find ways to really get our organizations to find specific ways of doing this. And so we'd love to have your input about how we can do this. What expertise needs to be connected for big challenges that face our projects and organizations? Because no one institution can do this alone. And that's why we think networks are so important for sustainability and for meeting these huge challenges that we face in our world at large and within our organizations, and in finding ways for open ed to really meet these big challenges. And finally, our last question is, how do our leadership development programs like this one, how can our program assist leaders to adapt open practices within their own spaces, to most effectively impact the underserved students in their particular institutions? So these are a lot of questions. I'm glad that you can pause this video to read them. We're going to copy and paste them into the OEG Connect space as well. And we really want you to participate and be a part of us. Another way that you can participate is to join the network. We're going to also put a link to this invitation to participate where you can fill out a quick form. And we have a cohort that's going to be going on in October that's already full, but we have 2 more cohorts, one coming up in January, another one in May, and you can join these cohorts and be part of our network or share this invitation with others that you think would be really great for this network. So I just want to say thank you for listening, and we hope that you'll participate. And Rebecca and Carlos, do you have anything else to add at the end here?
Interacting with you on the forums.
Okay.
Yes, welcome everybody. And also, I'd like to just say that all voices are important, and sometimes we haven't had the opportunities to develop our voices, and so please use this as a space to do that, as we would like to help empower incredible leadership in open education across North America.
That was a perfect ending. All right, we'll just say bye.